Alright, my friends, and now we're back in business with a showdown between the Warriors of Chaos, who shall be led by Kolek Suneater, coming in hot with his little cousin, the Dragon Ogre SHAGGOTH. And today, my friends, we face off against the Vampire Count, certainly a very tough matchup for the Warriors of Chaos, who shall be led by the Strigoi Vampire Lord, aka the Warhammer Macklemore here with his fur coat, looking to take Kolek to the thrift shop. Now, as far as my army goes, there's a couple ways you can play this matchup, but I see people often go with Marauders, and I feel like any build I try with Marauders, I just lose, because what ends up happening is the Marauders basically just get routed. They run to the hills by Black Coaches, by Terror Geist, by Mortis Engines, and then from there you're supporting monsters like your Shaggoths, your Dragon Ogres, your Chaos Spawn, get taken out by Black Knights and Gooses, and it's a very, very tough matchup in that respect. So what I like to do is go with a smaller, more elite army here. We do, of course, only have 400 troops, which is a very, very small force. But again, vampires are always pretty much going to outnumber you, or often will because of zombies. But you go with elite armored troops in the front line. Unfortunately, none of them are immune to psychology, with the exception of the Mirror Guard, which is why Mirror Guard are a very good anchor piece. Because vampires, it's so common. What ends up happening is, like I said, your troops get terror routed, then they use fell bats and dogs and cav just to chase them off, and they slowly pick you apart. So you want to have as durable of a build as you can. Chosen are certainly good as well, but if I had gone with Chosen, I wouldn't have had enough to afford some of the other assets here in this army. So yeah, Chaos Warriors with halberds in the front. You're usually going to see zombies and chaff. If you do see Graveguard, you're going to be fine. The Chaos Spawn, the Weird Spawn, and the Shaggoths, plus the Fire Magic, the Overcasted Burning Head, you should be okay to take out Graveguard. What you really need to worry about is really abusive single entity play. So Mortis Engines, Gooses, Cycle Charging, Lord Sniping. That's pretty much the name of the game as it pertains to the vampire counts here in this matchup. So yeah, our front line's going to be elite troops who got Spawn in the back. Spawn are also really good in this matchup. They cut through chaff incredibly quick, and they're also quite good at beating down some of the big monsters, especially the Weird Spawn, because they can sunder the armor, which, if you look at one of these Gooses up in the sky, that puts them down to 50, which makes them very, very squishy. We have two groups of horsemen here, just for some poke and stroke. Want to have a little bit of control to force the issue. Otherwise, my opponent could just theoretically run circles around the map and cackle, and I could never do anything about it. So here we do have the Demon Spew. Demon Spew are lurking in the back, and they're kind of a sweeper unit. The aura is really good because this often does devolve into blob fights, as you guys will see here in this battle. But the Swarm of Flies lowers melee attack by 5, and also they're really good at kind of cleaning up your back line. I really do like the Demon Spew quite a bit. So for my opponent's army, he's got Fellbats, he's got the Black Coach, White King, and just a very chaff-centric army, right? So it's going to be all zombies, a couple skeletons, but it's the single entities are what's going to be crazy. He's got a Goose, he's got the Macklemore Lord, he does also have a Black Coach, which is very good against my infantry, and double Blood Knight. So this is, one of a couple builds I see. I think, of course, the Mortis Engine is super good because it does, really stress you out as a Chaos player having to deal with it. But double Blood Knight can be super punishing as well. These things wreck Spawn, they wreck Shaggoths. I mean, they're very scary. He does have a Necromancer with a Forbidden Rod, and Macklemore here is going to be dropping some Spirit Leeches and just trying to snipe my Lord. So yeah, looking at the build, my first impression was, I'm like, okay, he's going to be trying to snipe my Lord. Typically, the Strigoi Vampire Lord is picked just for that reason. He's got anti-large, he's got good armor piercing, he's got poison, but he comes with Spirit Leech, and you don't have to pay the hefty price tag for Manfred von Karstein. And of course, Manfred, I don't believe, does poison damage. I don't think so on that zombie dragon. So a little bit of light skirmishing here, guys. We're going to be doing some poking. My opponent just kind of teasing in and back and forth. So I'm trying to conserve my ammo a little bit by turning off fire at will every now and then. You can see a couple loose shots coming out there, but the Strigoi Vampire Lord's going to be coming in. Classic stuff here to encounter on the ladder. The Wild Spirit Leeches. So basically, this was something you saw a lot in Warhammer 1 if you're playing Chaos against vampires. And Chaos used to be my main faction. Probably one of my better factions still, but basically what they'll do is they'll Spirit Leech you and they'll run the rest of their army backwards, and they won't engage you until they've Spirit Leeched you 4 or 5 times. I had a feeling that's what was going to happen, but the trading wasn't bad here. Granted, yeah, the Strigoi Vampire Lord can heal. I can't, but as long as we can make him pay the troll toll a little bit for his endeavors here, I'll be quite happy about that. So here you can see the Skeleton Warriors are going to be falling back, and I believe the rest of his army is just going to be kind of waiting in the shadows as more Spirit Leeches will start to come to fruition here. Blood Knights lurking in the trees. I do, of course, see them. Not the sneakiest of folk, but the Blood Knights certainly could pounce out and get some nice charges here on the spawn if they wanted to. But yeah, there's halberds nearby. I do, of course, have my Shaggoths and my Demon Spew, all of which are pretty decent at, kind of charging and harassing there. So the Strigoi Vampire Lord flying overhead, Marauder Horseman throwing them javelins up at him, and another Spirit Leech going to be coming in. Spirit Leech, of course, man, this game, at the beginning of this match, just brought back nightmares of Warhammer 1. Back when Spirit Leech was way overtuned and just insane. And what would happen is, I remember in the very, very early days of Warhammer 1, people would actually hide their lords, in trees to make sure they wouldn't get Spirit Leech spammed. And just wouldn't use them until the very late game. It's pretty funny stuff. Anyways, here, a little bit of a dive on my Marauder Horseman, so I pull them back and I pull in the Shaggoths, so the Shaggoths are going to be coming in, trying to get a blow on Macklemore, but he is able to flee here. And the Blood Knights, he's trying to pull me into a Blood Knight engagement, but I'm okay with that considering I do have Weird Spawn, I have some halberds nearby, so if I do get forced into that match, I'll be more than happy to trade head-to-head with those Blood Knights. And so far, my Marauder Horsemen kind of hiding amongst my troops here. I do send forward part of my army, so the Spawn and the Mirror Guard, just to start killing chaff, and we do buzzsaw through some skeletons, which I'm happy about. And we do actually get a big flank engagement here. So he does dive into Kolek and some of my Spawn here, but like I said, I do also have some Halberds mixed in here, so you can see the Chaos Warriors and Weird Spawn and double SHAGGOTH. So though he does have the Blood Knights, I felt like I could get a good trade here. So Lord of the Storm is going to be going down as well, right on top of these Blood Knights, and that is going to be a fat one right there. Certainly will do some big damage, and you can see, yeah, the Blood Knights take massive casualties from Lord of the Storm. And now we have Chaos Warriors with Halberds and Demon Spew pushing in, all of which are buffed by the Flaming Sword of Ruin, getting fire damage. And yeah, the Blood Knights are taking massive damage. Fireball going up in the sky there does tag the Strigoi Vampire Lord from my caster. And my Vanguard force here of the Spawn and Mirror Guard were able to successfully goon out a couple squads of skeletons, so I'll take what I can. Nonetheless, though, I do actually lose a couple Marauder Horsemen. I believe I lost both units in the melee because I had to allocate most of my resources to come over here to fight the Blood Knights, so I wasn't really able to defend my Skirmishers, which is okay. In this case, you know, I have a couple Blood Knights trapped. I'm very much blobbed up here. I know he doesn't have a traditional dragon. There's no zombie dragon, and the Deathshriek Terrorgeist breath attacks aren't going to punish my blob as much. So you'll notice this game, I'm a little bit more, you know, like I don't really care about blobbing up. It's going to keep my stuff safe. Whereas normally against like a zombie dragon, you would not want to be doing this as much because a single breath attack would just wreck you incredibly bad. So here I do send the Mirror Guard over. Mirror Guard going to be going to just farm some skeletons. They're quite happy to do that for Slaanesh, and the Lord sniping continues for my opponent. So coming in here with the Spirit Leech from the Strigoi Vampire Lord is getting Kolek pretty low. I mean, as far as the trading goes, his single entities are very powerful, very healthy. We did do a ton of damage to the Blood Knights, brought them down to a pretty, you know, weakened state. So that's quite nice for me there. So we'll see if we can finish off those Blood Knights. So at this point, I kind of am just being a little bit stationary. I know I have my SHAGGOTH beating down on his White King here, so I'm like, all right, let's just let these guys fight. Let's let my opponent kind of play his hand here. He's got the flying units anyway, so I don't have much of a choice. So I'm just trying to kind of clear chaff. So I move over here. I start killing zombies, so if we do get to the fourth quarter of the game, he will get a penalty for having no ground units. But again, another sniping attempt coming in, and I don't really have too much to say about this. Or respond, is what I meant to say there. Kolek does get gooned from two sides. He gets a breath attack here. I do use the Flaming Sword of Ruin, and just trying to punish him every time he comes in for these attempts. But Kolek is looking a little bit worse for wear here, as Blood Knights are going to charge him. Nowhere to really run. I guess I should have stayed on top of my Halberds and Spawn. But Kolek here is going to get karate chopped for sure. Blood Knights and all those dudes are going to be able to push him off, and he's going to be running for the hills. So my opponent's Lord sniping has been pretty successful. Granted, in the process, he's taken massive HP damage on the Strigoi Vampire Lord. His Black Coach, a Burning Head, is going to be going down here to clear out those zombies and try and free up my main force here. With the Blood Knights bouncing over here, and maybe going after Mirror Guard. Mirror Guard up to 118 kills, and they've done a good job, honestly. I don't know why they dropped their order there. They were charging those skeletons, but yeah, they've been able to kill a ton of chaff units, which I suppose is okay, but really it's a pretty insignificant amount of his army. Here, though, again, I'm able to punish him a little bit for the gooning attempt. The Terrorgeist is going to be getting beaten down by Spawn and the SHAGGOTH. What I should have done here is grabbed the Spawn and ran them past the Terrorgeist. I think I was trying to do that with the Weird Spawn, but they were kind of trapped up here. But we do get his Goose very low. It's now crumbling at -20, but the Goose heals already. It has regeneration, so, you know, it's really, the crumbling is 10 HP per second. Regeneration is like, I can't remember what it is. I think it's like 4 or 6. So really, the crumbling is pretty insignificant on such a beast, unless it's like really, really danger low. Yeah, regenerating units like Vargulfs, all these sort of beasts. I'm pretty sure he has regeneration. Yeah, he should. If memory serves. Anyways, over here, he is able to isolate my Mirror Guard, and that's the thing about this matchup. You know, if you do run away from your blob, you're certainly going to get punished. Vampire counts have a pretty solid mobile advantage in this matchup. So here the Goose is going to be coming down. Mirror Guard are quite durable, though. They're immune to psychology, so they're not going to get terror routed. And yeah, they're putting some damage on the skeletons. 167 on the kill, certainly not bad, but a huge alpha strike coming in from my opponent. But we do trade with him at least. We are able to capture his White King and finally take that bad boy out. So, you know, a bit of a tit for tat there. So as far as the bounce power goes, I'm a little bit ahead, but at this point in the game, I started to get a little bit concerned. I was seeing some signals. I was like, oh, is he going to draw kite me? Is this going to become a situation where I'm going to be chasing him around the map and I don't have mobility? The dreaded ladder situation. So he starts to chase the Mirror Guard off. I believe he's chasing down the last of my horsemen here, who are basically just skirmishing with some Fellbats and getting some decent kills, mind you. Over here, it looks like that's his Lord. The Macklemore Lord did actually chase Kolek all the way off the battlefield, which I was surprised about. Kolek had about 120 HP. I guess he could have came in and did a little bit more damage, but yeah, it's hard to say. I think he was kind of down for the count. Anyways, we'll do some fast forwarding here as I just kind of charge and deal with the zombies. I move in on those guys. I was thinking about using fireballs on him, but he was juking pretty well the whole game. Like, I tried to fireball him a couple times, so I was like waiting to just use Flaming Swords of Ruin and whatnot. So now we have another blob fight, but we are in the tree line, which is good. It's going to penalize his Black Coach and his big monsters, let me catch them a little bit easier. And here we did rally the Mirror Guard, and the Dragon Ogre SHAGGOTH did bounce out to go after Blood Knights, but of course they can be resurrected, so we don't get too much value there. But yeah, Mirror Guard with their 100 armor should be really durable here in their 54 melee defense, but inevitably they'll be broken by the Strigoi Vampire Lord. In the meantime, it looks like we were able to kill something there. I think that might have just been some chaff units, but the Black Coach is able to get away here. And yeah, he's basically just picking off the Mirror Guard here on the far side, which is totally fine. They're shaken, might actually hold until I get there, believe it or not. So that's why Demon Spew are great. Really a solid sweeper unit. The auras against the vampires and a blob fight is really good. 5 melee attack, you know, on one unit isn't the end of the world or a huge game changer, but you know, if you're able to get it on a couple units, like 3, 4, 5 different units, it can really pay off. So my opponent pulling back now, and I'm pretty much just in chase mode. And he, you know, has pretty much the freedom to do whatever he pleases here. He's got the mobility, he's got the Black Coach. If he didn't want me to catch him, I never would. So here I'm just going to be trying to waddle after the Blood Knights, you know, engage these guys to the best of my abilities. You can see here they have 22 models left in the spawner. Such a solid unbreakable unit. And that's the thing, like so many times in this matchup, the Mortis Engine will kill all your infantry. But if you have a couple units of spawn, man, they just really anchor it down for you and do an excellent job. So yeah, we're pretty much preparing for what may be the final battle. He doesn't have any summons with this build. The Strigoi Vampire Lord did not bring the Ghoul summons. I'm surprised he didn't bring it on the Necromancer, actually, because the zombie summons are just always good. But I think most of the Winds of Magic have been used on Invocations and Spirit Leeches, and the Balance of Power actually pulls back to the middle. So he's able to pull back here. I think he's just buying time to heal and maybe save up some Winds of Magic. So I'm just kind of waddling at this point. You know, like I said, I can't really catch him. So just kind of moving up, getting in position. I kind of got the sense here we were going to have the final climactic battle as the Strigoi Vampire Lord does soar overhead. I think he's probably going to be coming in for Spirit Leeches and looking for sniping opportunities. But I've been doing my best to keep my Sorcerer and my Shaggoth safe, because those guys are the hard carries here. The Flaming Sword of Ruin stacked on top of the spawn is insanely good. You get the fire damage, and of course the Strigoi Vampire Lord, Macklemore, and the Terrorgeist here are both weak to fire. So that's a huge, huge force multiplying effect. So I did see the zombies. I'm like, okay, we can play a little wild here. So I'm going to go ahead and charge in the Demon Spew here in a second just to kind of get the battle going. I think he did have the Necromancer here, so I figured that if he tried to retreat from this and pull me away or something, I would be able to get the Necromancer and the zombies, which I'm totally happy for. In the meantime, I can see he's like circling me like a vulture, just wanting to snipe my heroes and characters. So I'm just kind of running in circles with the Shaggoth and trying to make it hard for him, standing amongst my elite troops. So if he does come in here and attack me, right, I'm going to have Spawn and other guys here who can potentially help. So he does land here. So what I do is I believe I fight for a second, but when the second Goose comes in and I notice I'm starting to take a ton of damage here, I pull back. So I pull back up in the north through my formation. And now the Spawn, check these bad boys out. 195, armor sundering, fire damage. Just look how much damage this Strigoi Vampire Lord is taking. On top of that, I have Halberds, I have Demon Spew, I have a ton of sustainable infantry here. So I pull the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth to the far side to go after the Black Coach, pulling it away from the things that can threaten it. And now we're just going to jump on some of the Blood Knights. And the Blood Knights are also quite low, down to 20 models. My opponent trying to pull back here with the Strigoi Vampire Lord and also the Terrorgeist. And again, probably going to be resetting for another gooting attempt on the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, because if he could kill the Shaggy, there might be a chance for the Black Coach plus the two Terrorgeists to really, you know, potentially win the battle. But I still have a ton of Halberds just kind of standing around, you know, taking charges where they can. And it looks like Shaggy might be in a little bit of trouble, but I do pull the Spawn in. You can see my Spawn rush across the formation, intercepting the Black Coach. And yeah, just kind of standing amongst the Spawn, doing my best to hide from the big old Goose, which is now going to be going for the Sorcerer Lord. And you guys might wonder why I didn't bring the Sorcerer Lord on horse. Well, I knew it would probably be a blob fight. And on foot, he's actually a little bit harder to kill for Terrorgeist and things like that. So here, another Flaming Sword of Ruin goes down, a huge force multiplying effect. All my guys are going to be getting fire damage and poison. You can see the Strigoi Vampire Lord's at its healing cap. And the Terrorgeist is actually taking some righteous beatings here from these Spawn, as well as some of the Forsaken units. Plus my Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, you know, he's doing Kolek proud. He's been able to survive this fight, and he's going to be going after the big boy here. So we'll certainly see how that unfolds. And yeah, the Spawn clubbing him there, and that is going to be GG, as army losses was like a second away from striking when my opponent left the game. So yeah, that build, I mean, I think is pretty effective against vampires. Mortis Engine is still hard. Like, if they bring a Mortis Engine, a lot of it comes down to how effectively you can get the Mortis Engine while avoid being countercharged. Because what happens is they send in the Mortis Engine, and when you charge it with your two Shaggoths, they pull it back, and then they countercharge you with like a Blood Dragon Lord with like Helm of Discord, and it's a really tough situation. So I still think it's a very tough matchup for Chaos, but you know, this is kind of the direction I like to go. Something in this vein. I mean, part of me is like, maybe you just like, yeah, I feel like you need the double Shaggoth, although you could just go for like a ton of Spawn and like meaty infantry and grind through the support, so then the Mortis Engine can't really do anything. There's a couple theories I have about this one, but I've had success with builds like this, a little bit different here and there. Sometimes I go with Spirit Leech just so I can, like, you know, counter goon them when they attack me, but I really like Flaming Sword of Ruin, and Fireball and Burning Head, depending on the formations they have, can be super strong. And Burning Head's great against Mortis Engine too, not because it hurts the Mortis Engine, but because it actually wrecks the skeletons and zombies that are buffering for it, and then you can kill it with your other stuff, so which is nice. That's also why you bring the Marauder Horseman, just to have some missile play against those guys. But yeah, it was definitely a fun build. I don't know if it's perfect. I still think it's a very tough matchup, and I want to keep practicing against a multitude of builds. Really beating the Mortis Engine is my biggest issue, but thankfully he didn't bring one. He just went pretty all in there on trying to goon out the Shaggies with the Terrorgeist Goon Squad and the Blood Knights and stuff. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Certainly a fun match. Well played to my opponent there. It was certainly a wild one, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Warriors of Chaos versus Vampire game, Vampire Count game. I was about to say Vampire Greenskins. Talk about that. That'd be some scary stuff. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this Chaos versus Count game, and we will see you guys on the other side. Take care.